me throw some science at you. How do you explain that, as I said to Mr. Feldman earlier, America has between 11 and 12,000 gun murders a year, 18,000 gun suicides a year, 100,000 Americans are hit by gunfire a year.
First, let's look at homicides, specifically intentional homicides per 100,000 people. In 2009, the UN did a survey, and their statistics are that the US had 5 intentional homicides per 100,000 people. Canada, 1.8, Germany even better with 0.8, and Switzerland the best of all with 0.7. But if we look at gun-related homicides, 66.9% of the US's total homicides were gun-related. That's a high percentage, more than half, which means that 3.3 for every 100,000 people were killed with a gun. In Canada, they had a better percentage, 32%, so 0.5 gun-related homicides per 100,000 people. Germany had 29.9% with 0.2, and Switzerland had no stats at all. But if we look at their 2004 percentage, 72.2%, the highest percentage of all, and multiply by their current number of 0.7, we get 0.5 gun-related homicides per year.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that I think that 100,000 Americans being shot a year is out of control. Crazy, I think, that 30,000 Americans who kill themselves every year or shoot others with guns is out of control. Call me crazy. Look, I think it's absolutely shameful. So I want to try and reduce the gun violence, not increase it.
Yeah, well, you don't reduce gun violence or any violence by taking guns away from law-abiding citizens.
No, you actually do. You actually do.
That out by now.
No, you really do. Secondly, if you go to Japan or Britain or Australia or a number of other countries I can name where they have very strict gun control laws, it is so difficult to get hands on guns, you don't have the gun violence. It is a proven, demonstrable fact.
Also note that because the US has such a high percentage of gun-related homicides compared to regular homicides, if we subtract all the gun-related homicides from total homicides for the US, Canada, and Germany, we end up with the 3 countries having numbers that are not that different from one another, which shows that the US's prevalence of guns might be significant. Now let's look at regulation. We'll start with Switzerland. They have 45.7 guns per 100 people in the population, which is a lot. Switzerland guarantees the right to possess a gun in their law. However, a number of guns are prohibited, and in order to get a license, you have to go through a lot. You have to have a good reason, you must have a license to purchase a firearm, you have to be 18 or older and complete background checks for mental health, criminal past, and domestic violence. You have to pass tests if you want to carry a hidden gun, and every 5 years you have to reapply. You only get 1 gun per license. There are no private sales, dealers have to be licensed and perform background checks at the point of sale, and there are laws regarding how to store. Now Germany. They have fewer guns than in Switzerland, 30.3 per 100 people, but only 8.73 of those are registered, which is a lot of unregistered guns floating around out there. They don't guarantee the right to own a gun by law, but a number of guns are prohibited. Licensing requirements are quite similar, except that you have to be 21 years of age instead of 18. Background checks don't include a domestic violence check. And there's no need to reapply for a license. You can also carry an unlimited amount of firearms. They allow private sales, there is no background check at the point of sale, and dealers must be licensed. There are laws regarding how you store your gun. It must be in a specially designed gun safe, and it must be transported in a case in the trunk of your car. If you want to carry a gun, you have to do it in plain view only and only with a permit. Canada has very tight gun regulations. 22.26 of their 23.8 guns per 100 people are registered, which is really high. They don't guarantee the right to possess firearms by law, and most firearms are prohibited, except for handguns with a barrel longer than 105 millimeters. You don't have to have a good reason to get a permit, but it's tough to get one. In addition to Switzerland's guidelines, you have to pass an addiction background check, have third-party references, and an interview with your spouse or next of kin is required. You reapply every 5 years, just like Switzerland. There's a mandatory waiting period of 28 days before you can make your first gun purchase, and they have to be stored in a specific way, unloaded, separate from ammo, and rendered inoperable, unless you're hunting or living near predatory. This is where America's 3.3 gun-related homicides per 100,000 people starts to become really clear. because we have 88.8 guns per 100 people, almost 4 times the amount that Canada has, and almost twice the amount that Switzerland has. We guarantee possession of gun by law. Therefore, there are not necessarily licensing requirements. Machine guns, sawn-off shotguns, rifles, and silencers are prohibited, but armor-piercing ammo and automatics can be obtained with proper registration, and semi-automatics and handguns can be obtained in some cases without any license at all. You have to be 18 to 21 to possess a firearm, depending on which firearm you want, but you can possess an unlimited number. If you purchase from a private person, which is allowed in some places, there are no background checks involved. Although if you purchase from a dealer, you do have to complete a background check, and dealers must be licensed. There are no federal guidelines in terms of how to store or care for guns and ammunition. And if you want to carry one around, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it can be concealed, sometimes it has to be in plain view, and sometimes you need a permit. Sometimes you don't.
Look at the United States as a whole. If you compare us to the other 22 wealthiest nations in the world, you take their gun debts, add them together, multiply them by 20, and then you get to America's gun rate. And
legally using them.
Look, where we seem to agree is you don't make policy based on one incident, but we look across the incidents and we look at the fact that Virginia Tech, Arizona, all of these shootings did have mental health elements. And if there had been a background check system in place that gun owners overwhelmingly support and that the NRA is opposing, would have stopped it.
Would that have stopped this?
We can't look incident by incident. We have to look in general at what makes it, how do we balance the rights of gun owners to hunt and protect their families with the sensible, common sense gun laws that help our kids come home safe from school every day. We shouldn't make it so easy in this country to get massive semi-automatic weapons.
Again,